Hi, I'm here to talk about Mantra Tantra Yantra and certain things that I found out which would clear the air quite a bit. All those people who feel a little scared of talking about all these things, you're being made and played by people who don't want you to gather knowledge. There's nothing scary, there's nothing wrong in gathering knowledge. But when you translate those things into action, you should weigh things. You shouldn't be stepping on anyone else's toes. But when it comes to finding peace and trying hard to expand in order to feel more fulfilled, what's wrong in it? And the more I came to learned about the idea behind yantra and tantra, the more respect I had for all those people in the past centuries and centuries back who would try to make this life more fulfilling, more peaceful, a good experience. Is there a harm in it? No way. So I'm here to talk about what I think of yantra. Yantra, yantra means machine, a method, technique. Mantra is sound. Yantra is, as I said, machine, and tantra is method. So when you put all these things together, you get a jivatma or a life force. Because what segregates life from something that's not living is that the vibration of the non-living objects, entities, is next to zero. Whereas we, the living beings, for however long we live, we vibrate at a certain frequency. And the idea is always to raise our to vibrate at a higher frequency. That is, the vibration should be higher, so that there is more peace. Because the more you go higher, obviously higher vibration would be found at a higher altitude. And if you can manage to teach your body to vibrate at a higher frequency, you would feel less bound, because you would be more detached, no strings attached, and you would be doing things because you feel that it is right to do for others, not because you're a slave to your emotions. So that's what high vibration could be. People don't dictate you, circumstances don't dictate you. Even if you do a certain things, that's only for the higher good. So that was what I wanted to start the video with. So coming back to yantra, I guess, is based on the principle of law of attraction. Law of attraction, because we have a certain picture, okay, in front of us, and we want a deity that we associate with a high vibration. It could be courage, it could be bravery, it could be love, it could be compassion, abundance, goodwill, whatever attracts you the most. So when you make a deity that represents a certain emotion that you want to have, you would create a picture and activate that particular picture. In the sense, just like distance reiki, you have a picture in front of you and there is exchange of energy. So it's pretty much like when you keep looking at a picture that stands for a certain virtue. For example, uh, for example, generosity is something that you are looking for. So you have a picture of generosity. Is it possible to create a picture of generosity? No, we don't know exactly how a deity that stands for that, a vibration that makes you more compassionate and generous, how that deity would look. So the those people who did not know what to create, they made a geometrical figure and they associated that particular vibration with that figure. If you keep looking at it, you become what you behold. Now there's a saying, right, that you become what you behold, in the sense that if you look continuously are surrounded by generosity, you would become generous. How? let's just say you want to become generous. So you would do generosity. As a result, you would become more generous. Another example. If you like knowledgeable people, you would start gathering knowledge. The more knowledge you get or gather, the more knowledgeable you become. So, all those people who are attracted by knowledge would come to you, and you would form a matrix of knowledge or generosity or abundance or goodwill. So when sometimes people, like-minded people, come together, they make a matrix of things that they stand for, things that they believe in. So if you're looking at, for example, a deity that stands for compassion, uh, you would try and become, you would try and be one with that deity. So if I want to become a, f- like my favorite tennis star, I would start playing like that tennis star. And once I start playing with that like that tennis star, all those people who like my way of playing tennis would get attracted, and they also will start playing like the original deity, right? And that's how the chain reaction goes on. So if I make a picture on paper or cloth or metal, which according to me represents that particular deity that stands for a certain virtue, I would put all my concentration on that particular picture. I would try and become like that deity, so that things that I want to achieve is not done by my deity for me, but I do it for myself, because that's how things happen. Who has seen God come on earth and do work for you? He slash she or whatever, however you see God as, would give us the power, would give us the direction, the focus to do those things ourselves. they he, God, would make changes in the circumstances in such a way. So this is what it is. Yantra is law of attraction. Because you want a certain thing done, you would want to evoke that particular emotion in yourself, so you would keep looking at a picture that will give you the strength to become like that deity, so that you can do your work. That's it. Now, what's the first step of doing that? You keep concentrating on that picture for a long, long time. It is not 2 minutes noodles. You have to keep on looking at that picture for a long, long time, so that the chattering that goes in your head, it stops. And for some moment, you are in a zone. You're zoned out. You don't think about anything else but that particular. You become that picture. You're so concentrated, and if there was a human figure, people would ask questions. Oh no, maybe deity looks somehow some other way, because we have so many pictures of God that we have created. Each picture looks different, but when it comes to geometric figures, it's the same way. I will take an example. I made this. Now this is Sri Durga Yantra. That's a deity who stands for courage. So what usually happen? I will not explain each and every part and of the yantra, because there's so many things I have found, and there's so many things to be found. But things that I'm 100% sure of, that this is not pure rubbish, and this is something concrete and should be shared, could be shared. This is what I'm telling you. Either you can see this containment zone as some kind of a structure in front of you, and this is outside your body. So that's another entity. So if it is a mountain, it has three layers. You can see this squarish thing with gateways. This is known as bhupar. Bhu means earth, par is gate. So there are gates in different directions. Each direction is ruled by a certain emotion. And if whatever be the propelling force, east, you want to, you are driven by divinity, this, you want to seek divine, the divine. If you're entering through north, you're not physically entering, your mind is entering. You are you are mm, you want to be grounded. West, you have reverence, you're guided by reverence. South, passion. Okay, so whatever be the case, so there's, imagine there is a this is a floating contained, a floating zone, and then you cover these three layers of Bhupar, or the gateway, and then you enter a zone which has different, you walk, you walk, and you find eight vortices. Vortices is congregation, center points. Why are these center points? They are obviously attracting more energies than this place, the empty zone. How is it creating more energy? It is believed, since it has, let's say, eight petals. We compare it to lotus. These center points, these vortices are eight in number. We compare it to a chakra in the body, and which chakra has eight vortices? The Rith chakra. Now, this is not Rith means Hridaya or heart chakra. Heart chakra is different. This is Rith chakra, which is completely responsible for willpower and confidence. So, so there are eight. There could be other interpretation. Please find out. It's like a map, treasure map. You can't figure out where the map is leading you to, but it's so much fun to finally be able to crack it. And in the process, even if you're not able to crack it fully, you still reach somewhere which is n times better than the place that you are at the moment. So this is what it is. Then you've entered a zone which has triangles, the upward and the downward. Now, what is a triangle? Triangle is the most primary form of closed figure. Even a square is a closed figure. But what happens with, what is the difference? What is the difference between a triangle and a square, or any rectangular figure? Here, this is a triangle is always forward moving. So let's just say, since triangle is made of three lines, this, and this, they all represent some other gun or feature which has gotten confined, it has gotten confined in this particular space. In a square, it remains in that particular space. Here it is forward moving because all the energy is moving towards one place. If it is this way, then it will move downwards. If it is upward, then it'll move upward. So it's not balanced distribution of energy like it happens in a square or a rectangle, any parallelogram. It is always forward moving. So all these three things do represent something else, but then they are forward moving, so there is a lack of stability in it. It is perfection, it is absolute in its own right. Triangle is absolute in its own right, but it is not as stable as a square. What happens if these triangles, which are always compared to feminine and masculine energy, for me it is law, it is striking of equilibrium, or or let's just say it is more like dissolution of dualism. So if this is night, one triangle is night, the other triangle is day. If one triangle is space, the other triangle is time. If one triangle is black, the other is white. So all dualism. One triangle is soul, the other is matter. So everything is actually same. They are just two sides of the same coin. So just see how many triangles are there and where are they pointing towards. So there are three upward moving triangles, so the energy is moving upwards. There is ascension in the energy. There is a huge one triangle that's moving down, that's pointing downwards. So it's grounding the energy. So there is an equilibrium established by a single triangle downward pointing. And what is the bindu? Bindu is actually shunya, the zero. So when two different forces come together, the result is always zero. The result is always zero. Why do I say that? Let's just say, mm, no, I'll make it here. Okay, this is 2. Hmm. This is positive 2. In this positive 2, we add negative 2. What will be the result? Obviously 0. So it's the sum total. Bindu is shunya, shunya is 0. It's the sum total of all energy. It's the unity. And when it explodes into different kinds of dynamic. So this here in the first part, I spoke about when you go from outward portion to inward. So that's in when you are inward oriented. Now what if you go from but what if you see the whole thing in a different way? If you see this picture as your own picture, this is your body, this is your own body. So there is one outer layer which is your gross sheath or kosh, the one that you make with food, the solid one that just contains you. It's like a polythene that segregates you from the ether that's all around us. So this is it. Then the second bhupar is of liquid, that's water. It could be in the form of lymphatic system that we have in our bodies, plus the blood. Now that's responsible for emotions. So first you've crossed the you're going inwards now. So first you've crossed the gross layer, then you've come on the emotional layer, the man, uh, and then you go towards your uh, where air circulates. Now air is responsible for thoughts. If water is responsible for emotions, because it depends on what is your blood pressure. If high blood pressure, obviously you're going through strong emotions. If you're peaceful, the blood is circulating at a very steady pace. Okay. Then air, thoughts. So if you've conquered everything, there is an equanimity established in all three layers. Then you move further inwards. This is your body, mind you. Okay, this is your body. And then you come across 8 petals of the central points. Now these are the points after you've crossed your gross layer, or one that is made by sorry made by food. Then second layer, that's water or liquid, and then air, and then you've this is after crossing that points of ether, nothingness. Ether is nothingness because we don't know exactly how it is constituted as yet. Of course, it is made of something even more subtle than air, and until we find what it is made of, we say it's nothing. All right, so this is these petals are the center points of energies. Now, this energy is electromagnetic waves that come from that we are surrounded by, and that come from different portions of the space or universe, and they all are responsible to to make us feel a certain way. So these are 8 petals, each responsible for making us feel certain way, and then we go down even inwards. So here the it is the melting point of the changes that are taking place. First we are, and then when we move even further inside, there is this unity. When we were nothing, then we exploded, then the changes started happening. Then we got affected by the electromagnetic waves. Then we got affected by the air, the water, the gross sheath. So where is the deity? The deity is here. Just keep on just pay attention to how many triangles are there. And what is, where exactly is the bindu? Bindu is the point, point is the shunya, shunya is the zero, zero is the deity. Where is the deity residing? It is residing in an upward moving a triangle. Upward moving, as in, they call it masculine, but I call it one part of dualism. Okay, so basically this upper triangle moves, it talks about ascension. When you're ascending, you don't care about anything else. It's completely masculine, but I don't want anyone to compare it with males, because we all are this, we all are this, a perfect equilibrium of male and female energy. It's only what gets manifested that decides our gender. So I might be in me, the manifest the energy that's manifesting more prominently is feminine. It could be other way around with somebody else. So here there is, the bindu is residing in an upward pointing triangle. So the deity has a lot of masculine energy, because it is Sri Durga yantra. She has to be fearless, she has to destroy everything that comes in the way of goodness. She's Sri Durga. Durg is wall, protection. So that's that. So she just not feels protected, she makes people feel protected. So when you become Durgaji, you become Durgaji by concentrating on this particular picture, because we don't know exactly how Durgaji looks. So there were people who preferred making these geometric shapes. So this, they got this idea that if you remain unfazed by how your physical body is, how your emotional and intellectual body is, when you establish balance in all these strings, all these sheath, kosha, and when you have perfected the vibrations in your body, you have brought your rith chakra, the chakra that's responsible for making you feel fearless, into balance. How do you do that? By chanting mantra. When you don't chant, I don't chant mantras too often. I feel that, what about mute people? So if they are not able to chant it aloud, are they not going to get the evolution? Someday I may change, today I am the way I am. So I know it is easier, but one can never be too sure what's the right way. So this is how what I'm experimenting with. I'm experimenting with truth, and I'll read somewhere. Please do the same. Let's give authentic information to the generations to come. All right. So when you have brought this Rith chakra into balance by making it vibrate, each petal vibrate, you're fearless. Okay, so your kosha or sheath are balanced, you're feeling very confident, the changes that are taking place are all balanced, except there is an extra triangle, small little extra triangle, that's moving upwards, that's so not moving, pointing upwards. That's which means you couldn't care less about people. Because if you was, let's say, take an example, if you are not going to stay in a particular house, why will you care about what's happening there? You have tried to keep it clean, you have tried to keep people living in that place in good humor, but if they're still angry and negative and whatnots, you will say, okay, I'm leaving after a few minutes. Why should I uh, you do your own thing. Okay, so there is this ascension. That's what ascension is. You stop caring. It's not that you wish people bad, but you stop caring after a certain point. You say, okay, God bless you, but I am away, I'm keeping myself, I'm walking away. Okay, so that's ascension. And when you're walking away, you are fearless, two hoots. So that's the little triangle. That is how I see it, and that's the law of attraction. If you're, let's say, I'm repeating myself, but I want to end the video with this thought. So if you're generous, you will increase generosity around you by being generous with each and every entity. So the new normal has anyway higher levels of generosity. You continuous being generous, so people who are you are being generous with, they also have something extra to give to people. So that's how the circle of influence, it expands. People who are generous, they get attracted to you. In this case, it's the deity who gets attracted to you, or you get attracted to the deity, because you both are resonating at the same vibration. Or even if there is some fine tuning response required, you will try and make the vibration um, equal by harmonic resonance, by the idea of harmonic resonance. And if you are negative, limit, you have a feeling of lack, confinement, limitations, you will obviously attract the same kind of people. So, what you become is actually what you think. And how do you know what you're thinking? How you feel. So, I am thinking all good things in my day. I should be helpful, I should feel abundant, etc. etc. But I'm feeling down and out. So, basically, I'm not thinking the right things. My ego is just telling me that you're doing the right thing. So, if you're crying, if you're feeling down, how can you possibly be thinking genuinely about good things? So think good things. Yantra is one of the ways of doing that. Otherwise, there are thousands more. The whole idea is that since we are here, we have no other place to go. Let's be peaceful, happy, abundant. Yeah. Bye.